Yet another thoroughly amateur production. I'm Robert McKay. As the title card told you, this is Whiskey for Beginners. If you didn't know that was the channel you were on, I hate to tell you, son, but I'm just sorry for you. Uh, what can I say? I'm a Southern boy. I talk like a Southern hick. I talk like a Texas hick. I am a Texas hick. And there's nothing wrong with that. Who and what I am, what I'm doing on this channel may not be for everybody. But I suspect there are people like me out there who don't want necessarily the most polished channel, but rather the most real channel. That's why I love SLB Drinks. Sierra Lima Bravo SLB Drinks. Kurt and Trenton, and in earlier videos just Kurt, are very natural, very normal, very everyday, down to earth, real people. The same is true of It's Bourbon Night, which is Chad and Sarah. They started out as friends, and now they're married. And I look at their earlier videos, and if I didn't know they were just friends at that point, I'd think they were married. They mesh so well. Just ordinary, real, everyday people who love bourbon. And there are other channels out there. I'm not saying those are the only two good ones. I watch others. But those two especially impress me as being real people like me. I think I would like Chad and Sarah and Kurt and Trenton if I ever got the chance to meet them, which is not likely. But you turned into this video for a review of Bulleit Bourbon. And this is one of the most interesting labels I've ever seen. It doesn't, even in good light, which this isn't, it doesn't seem to show up well, but it's a nice, pretty orange color, looking sort of scorched around the edges. It's a darker orange there. But this is what they call a high rye bourbon, made using our family's high rye mash bill. I don't recollect what the mash bill is. I think it's something like 28% rye. I haven't looked it up. I look up all that stuff for my written reviews, and you can find those on distiller.com or on MeWe, which is an alternative to Facebook where they don't shut you up if you say something they don't like. You can say pretty much whatever you please. Free speech, right? It's real on MeWe. It's not just a slogan. But on MeWe, you can find my reviews in the Whiskey and Whiskey group using both spellings, and in the Bourbon Aficionados group. There's another group that's just called Whiskey, but it's pretty much dead. I was the only one who ever posted there, and I've give up on it. So let's pour us some Bulleit Bourbon. And by the way, the name and the spelling, Bulleit, Bulleit, comes from the Bulleit family. That's really their family name. And as I recall, as I say, I don't look up all this stuff for these video reviews because I already ramble on too much. But as I remember, hopefully I remember semi-correctly, there was once a natural distillery that the Bulleit family ran. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they get contract distilled whiskey and age it and bottle it. I could be wrong. If I am, count it down as me being me. I don't do me. I am me. Some of our modern slang is just absolutely asinine. But that's where the name comes from, Bulleit. It allegedly is a recipe and a style of bourbon that goes back years into the 1800s on the bottle, and I don't know how well it's going to show up, but here the glass has the raised lettering Frontier Whiskey, and it says Frontier Whiskey on the label. And by the way, Bulleit, this fifth cost me $27.99, so it's not a bad price at all. Swirl it a bit. That gets the vapors to rising. Oh man, spicy honey. Right off the bat, spicy honey. And you're going to get sweetness from the corn in bourbon. Bourbon, you may know, I've done a video on what is bourbon, or whatever exact title I put on it. And bourbon has to be at least 51% corn. And with a high rye bourbon, you not only have whatever percentage of corn, but also a lot of rye. And rye provides spice in whiskey. Oh, that honey is strong. Something else sweet in there. Brown sugar, I think. Think I'm getting honey butter separately from the plain honey. Caramel. I'm not doing real well at sorting out all the notes. Normally, I have my nightly glass at night. After I'm done with work, done with everything else, I just sit back and relax. When I make a video, I have to work around my wife's schedule just as she works around my schedule for some things. We live in a one-bedroom apartment. It's just not feasible for me to go in a room and shut the door and not bother her, and vice versa. So I'm doing this review in the morning. Well, it's actually 1:16 in the afternoon, but still, that's hours before I'm normally doing my whiskey. It's definitely a pleasant nose. There's corn there, getting some black pepper, maybe a little red pepper, and that's from the rye. There's honey, a little bit of oak in there, a little bit of smoke. And I like an oaky, smoky whiskey, which is probably why I like Laphroaig 10, which is a Scotch whiskey. Comes from an island called Islay. And you spell it Islay. It looks like Islay, but you pronounce it Islay. And I'm not even going to attempt the Scottish accent. I do sometimes, but I'm not going to here. But that is a very peated whiskey. They dry the barley after it's sprouted with peat smoke, and that gives it a very chemical, very smoky, very earthy taste and smell. And then underneath you get this gorgeous fruity whiskey. But I think the reason I like that Laphroaig is because I do like a smoky and oaky whiskey, and I'm getting that here. Got butter in there. A little bit of fruit of some sort. Grape, maybe. I'm almost tempted to say pineapple, but it's not really pineapple. I did get very distinct pineapple from that Laphroaig. And when I'll have another bottle of that, I don't know. With tax, it was $55 or so. And I just can't afford that. But what, once or twice a year, if maybe once every 2-3 years. And everybody else I've seen takes a drink of water to clear their palate. I've tried that. Water doesn't do it for me. Coke does. It's weird. But then whoever said I'm normal didn't know me real well, if at all. I'm now getting a little smokiness on the nose. And that it's more of a generalized fruitiness now. I'm not getting any specific fruit note on the nose. Maybe I am. Maybe grapes. There's a type of grape in the South, and it has varieties within that type. But it's a wild grape, grows naturally, and it's called muscadine. And, some will call it Scuppernong, some will call it Scuppernines. but it's all within that overall category of a muscadine. And I don't know that this is what a muscadine smells like, but that the grape makes me think, because I'm a Southern boy, makes me think of muscadines. Something dusty in there, like a barn on a summer's day, and with the sun shining in, and you can see the dust floating in the beams. This is right good whiskey. Got some spice on the finish. Got some oak. It's not it's not the best finish I've ever had, and I don't always think to even talk about the finish when I'm doing a video review. But it's a finish that's lasting a while. Got some spiced honey on the taste. And the spice really kicks in after I swallow on the front of my tongue. It's red pepper and black pepper, maybe some green chili even. And that spicy oak, a little bit of smoke in there. It's a pretty good finish too. So what did I say this was? $27.99 Bulleit bourbon. It's right good whiskey. I can recommend it without any fear whatsoever. Now, whiskey is such a subjective thing. What one person raves about, another will hate. I've had that experience my own self with Balcones pot still bourbon out of Texas. But for me, my taste, this is a good bourbon. It's at a good price. It tastes good. It smells good, and I would definitely recommend it to you.